So as we promised in the first video, we have returned to Foster, Rhode Island, just off of Danielson Turnpike. And we're on the hunt now for the infamous Ramtail milling town, ghost town that exists here in the woods. We're fighting the sun here. We have probably a good hour and a half to explore. It should be more than enough to find it. We came here about a month ago, and it was during the height of hunting season, and we had to make a very quick retreat from that. But here we are, we're back here. We're going to go a little further into the woods and just explore a little bit and find out where this milling town was, and talk a little bit about the history of it, what destroyed it, what has haunted it, and what has brought people back here. You know, a lot of ghost hunters, you're going to see a lot of paranormal sites, have written extensively about this place. Officially, it's the only place in the United States that it's officially recognized as being haunted. Although that's somewhat of a you know, of a misnomer, so to speak, because you know, it's officially given that title long time ago, and it's just simply never been changed. And who knows if any kind of official review of that will ever take place. But we're just looking up over the ridge here. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the stream and make our way over to the factory. And the first sign of life, this little corner here, another investigator has identified this as a part of the sawmill. There's a very close proximity to the river. I'll show you as I try to get out of the light here. Shadows here making it a little bit difficult to make out. Now you can see the structure itself. And it has a very close proximity to the river. Keep moving forward now. Now I'm talking about the story behind the legend, at least the truth. So William Potter, he said he bought substantial land in Foster, and you know, his intention was to create just a massive milling industry. In fact, he was known as the Foster Woolen Manufactory, manufacturing company, or the manufacturer. The business which turned wool into cloth, and as I said, he employed his sons and stepsons in the enterprise. He had 6 acres of land. He built 5 mill houses, a general store, blacksmith, 3 mill buildings, and he used 4 of his sons. Only Potter was his biological son, who he employed, but also employed a brother-in-law, Jonathan Ellis, and 2 sons-in-law, Marvin Round and Peleg Walker. And it looks like we're seeing the road here. Now, Walker would actually buy land from Mr. Round back by the dam district, where the dam was, you know, where the Hopkins Pond was. Now, the factory really got going 19th century. Peleg Walker, who will be the subject of this history, married Mary Potter. We saw her tombstone. And with the marriage, he inherited 20 acres of land from the estate. He was also given charge of one of the factories, one of the mills, one of the 4 mills that would, the 5 mill houses that would make up the factory. Now, when I first came across this back about a month or so ago, I thought this rather odd collection of sticks here. I think we have some fellow legend trippers. Looks like they're still here. It's like a collection of walking sticks Or if you're into the Blair Witch legend, you can think of this as being something more paranormal. No footprints around. I see some look like dog tracks. I hope those are dog tracks. They can have them be anything else. But you can see that these have been here since I came, so it doesn't really look like anybody's traversed this area since. So then became the Ramtail factory. Utilized the power of the river in order to run the mills. Used a breast-shot wheel. Essentially the water ran over the wheel, turning the wheel, and that spun the loom, helped with the weaving, and helped with the general conversion process. So the village really grew up around this whole setup, the whole factory structure. Yeah, we are seeing signs of footprints here. I've turned back. This path here leads to, I guess, what could be called a beaver dam. Apparently a beaver dam is one of the landmarks of the actual village, but we just can't cross it. It's we're just not equipped for that. So we're heading back. We're going to go take a look at two of the structures that, wow, this looks burned. See that? I didn't notice that before. What's that? Look at that. That is burned. Some of these burned all the way to the top. This has been burned too. That's quite bizarre why somebody would even do that. Okay, so Mr. Walker, after giving charge of one of these factories, ran himself up a pretty nice debt. He was quite the fondness for clothing, for real estate, for the good things in life, and he got himself into some serious debt. The problem is, and this is where the history gets a little bit murky. It's not known whether or not the partners removed him, whether Potter, who ran the operation, removed him from the family business, or whether or not he took up extra responsibilities to make more money to help pay off his debts. Anyway, he essentially became the night watchman, and he stayed up all night. He had the keys to the factory. He would watch over, make sure that there was no strange business, and he would ring the bell in the morning for the workers to come and start their shift at the particular mill that he worked in. At some point, William Potter and Peleg Walker got into some kind of disagreement, and it's here where a lot of people think that it's very possible that he was removed as a partner, and because of these problems. And you see here we're approaching what could be one of these called slurways or causeways. Water would be routed off of the main stream so that it could be used to basically be elevated so that it could run the wheel, the breast wheel, broad wheel of the factory. This very well may be one of those. You can see it branches off from the main river, drawing water in, and if the stream had more of a stream, it would have. So we could actually be standing in one section of one of the mills here. The main mill structure had 3 rooms associated with it, and it had a storage facility. But this looks more like a place where water runoff was brought in to and then elevated to help run the factory. You can see that the actual stoneworks here is even up here, so this was part of a much larger structure here. It's very possible that the turning of the wheel could have been some area here. I don't know how exactly it would have been oriented. No remnants of the wheel that ran the factory here, but looks like we're standing abreast in a structure here. You can see it starts over here and comes and traces out over there. Right. So, with these new responsibilities as night watchman, and perhaps these were his only responsibilities, I don't know. Obviously despondent young man. For whatever reason, lost hope, or in a final act of revenge against his father-in-law, decided to end his own life in a way that was quite macabre. So what Peleg Walker did was he hung himself by the rope which was attached to the morning bell, which guided the workers in towards to start their workday. And so he would, essentially, the townspeople awoke one morning and they realized the bell hadn't rung. Their wake-up call had never been summoned. And the result was that Potter family quickly ran over to the mill to find out what had happened, and they discovered Peleg Walker hanging by the rope, dead as a doornail, keys to the plant in his pocket. Now this is the area that we saw before, and we didn't really have a way down here, and it's not entirely clear that this is it. It shouldn't be it. There should be much more than this. And this structure you see ahead here could be the main facility here, the main block in which the factory lay. But there would be other foundations here. It's just a question of whether or not this can be crossed. This is the problem we ran into last time. And the stream has gotten a little bit stronger with the snow here. So let's look around. Let's see if this place we can kind of cross over. Highly doubt it. But let's see if we can come around the river from the other side. And let's give it a whirl. We still have some time of daylight. So, Mr. Walker was cut down from his perch. I'm sorry, that was in rather bad taste. He was cut down from the noose he had placed around his neck, and he was buried. Within days, according to legend, a number of bizarre things began to happen. The bell began to ring. Mr. Walker was the only one in charge of that bell, and nobody had been reassigned to ring it. 2 days after he died, it began ringing again. So the bell was removed. And, very strangely, it continued to ring, even though there was no bell there to actually ring. Then the factory began to actually start up at night, rather strangely. Potters would awaken to a fully running factory, and it was even foretold, or it was even reported that the water wheel, which powered the mill, was rotating opposite the direction of the current. So rotating in the wrong direction here. Now we're still on the opposite bank here. Just got to be careful here. Look for any way we can to cross over. Get to that other side. It's going to be kind of... We'll try it. We will try. So obviously this freaked out a lot of the townspeople. And to really top it off, being the night watchman, one of Walker's main responsibilities was to walk the grounds at night carrying a handheld lantern. This was the 19th century, and a lot of the townspeople, the factory workers, reported seeing the glow of the lantern moving through the night, and assumed that this was the ghostly apparition of Peleg Walker, which wasn't at rest. Now this has spawned all sorts of ghost hunters and paranormal investigators to this area here. You'll see, these guys come in. One particular group of individuals has looks like a police scanner, and they'll ask questions, and wherever the scanner stops, they some message from the scanner apparently is an answer to one of their questions. Kind of a clever idea. A little play off of the EVP. I've actually never heard of this method before. Maybe it is useful. But, you know, the history of this really, you know, unfortunate, tragic town is I think it's infinitely more interesting than this ghostly legend. But anyway, the fact that Rhode Island classified this as a haunted location has really piqued the curiosity of people. Now, the Ramtail factory burned down at the end of the 19th century. And I'll post up the data up on the website next to the video. I see it in your top left-hand corner right now. And all the buildings were burned down. All the wooden structures. The only thing that was left were foundations. And some of the foundations that we did see. Fosters, who had made lots of money in this milling district, really overstretched themselves. And perhaps it was the ghost, perhaps it was the hysteria, perhaps it was just overreaching. Walker overreached in his life and took his life as a result. Potter overreached in terms of his vision of a really large milling industry, and as a result of that, his town went under when his workforce left, and there just simply wasn't enough revenue there to rebuild it. So we'll come back to you in a little bit. We'll try to make that movement to the other side here. We're following the river backwards. As we find new structures, I'll cut back in and we'll talk about it. Bye.